Hello.
Hello.
The triple lock is in peril. Although it sounds like something that would challenge an escapologist, apparently it's not. What is the triple lock?
So the triple lock is a guarantee for the state pension that was introduced by David Cameron's coalition government way back in 2010. It guarantees that the state pension will rise by the maximum of average earnings, average inflation, or 2.5%. So that's been quite a good deal for pensioners. The UK pension isn't that great, but over the last decade, at least it's been catching up.
That sounds actually really rather good. So what is the problem at the moment then?
Right, the problem is that, as I said, the state pension rises by the maximum of average earnings, inflation, and 2.5%. Right, we know that. But what's gone wrong this time is because of COVID, average earnings have dropped quite sharply. Inflation is very low as well, but we've got the 2.5% kicking in this year. So, the rise this year will almost certainly be 2.5% at a time when average earnings are falling quite fast. The problem comes next year, because next year inflation is very likely to be quite low still. You've still got your 2.5%, but next year earnings are very likely to bounce back quite sharply, even though nobody will feel very much better off. And the reason for that is that furlough has cut people's wages to 80% of their full-time working, up to £2,500 a month. So when you come off furlough in October, you will either go back to 100% earnings, which means your earnings will rise, or you'll be made redundant and you're not earning at all. And it will tend to be some of the lower wages that drop out through redundancy. So net, what the government is expecting to happen is average earnings drop 6% this year and rise 12% next year.
Oh.
So basically, pensioners will get 2.5% this year and 12% next year. So they will be much, much better off under the triple lock because of COVID than most people in the economy. And at a time when we're trying to tighten our belts, obviously that's not ideal.
No. So what is the answer?
Right, well, the answer is either do nothing. That's expensive, but it does dodge the bullet. The second option is to drop the 2.5%, because 2.5% has been the pivotal factor in 3 of the past 10 years, and in fact it's almost certain to be pivotal factor this year as well. But that doesn't fully solve the problem, because the problem is the sort of banging about of average earnings, down 6% one year, up 12% the next year. So the long-term solution would be to average out average earnings over 2 years, not one. Right? But in the short term, they've dodged the question anyway, because Rishi Sunak was due to have an autumn budget statement, and that was going to be the way of paying for furlough, paying for all these lockdown measures. But it's been decided that the economy is too weak to cope with spending cuts and tax increases, so they've been postponed. So to an extent, the bullet has been dodged because the economy remains weak. But do expect a fudge at some point next year, if only because we're so far away from a general election that everybody will have forgotten by the time we get there. So if they are going to fiddle with a triple lock, it's almost certainly going to be next year that we need to worry about. So if you found this useful or interesting, please like, comment and subscribe. We love to get comments below and questions and what have you. But most of all, at this tricky time, please take care out there.